Fine, Perik Yud Beis B'Siyata D'Shmaya. Here we are, finally here, talking about the Beinoni, which is what we've been discussing from the beginning, and of course, this is the Sefer Beinoni, also steht the Heilige Tanya. So we're starting now Perik Yud Beis. It's a very long Perik. It's going to take us a bit of time because there's a few Yisodis over here that we have to explain very well for us to fully understand a lot of the other things that are going on in the Sefer. So let's begin. Perik Yud Beis V'ha Beinoni Hu. So again, remember, we've discussed already what is a tzaddik. We've discussed what's a rosha. We're now in the middle. V'habeinoni hu shelo ein hora goiva kol kach lichboish es ha'eaktana, which means at the end of the day that his ra, which exists within him, of course, is not going to be goiva. It's not going to overpower so much to be able to lichboish, to conquer, right, to overpower this irktana, which of course refers to his guf, which means it's present within him, the ra, but it's not got the koyach to persuade him to get him to do any averas, okay, which we'll get to. Lehislabesh baguf lachtiyoi, to be mislabesh, as we always say, to dress in the guf, right, to be given to make him do an avera. The hainu, what does that mean? Shishloisha levushe nefesh abahamis sheheim, the three levushim that we've spoken about so many times, which are, and here we're talking about the nefesh abahamis, machshava, dibo, umaisa, shemitzada klipa, which are specifically from the klipas noiga. All of those, ein goyrim by al nefesh alekis lehislabesh baguf. They will not be able to overpower his nefesh alekis, the toiv within him. In other words, the three garments specifically of the Nefesh Habahamis will not be managing to overcome the Nefesh Elekis and even to become dressed in his body or his thought or his soul. And what he says now, B'moyach Uvapeh Ub'sharimach Evorim, which of course Sharimach Evorim is referring to Koich HaMaisa. So in other words, it's not going to be able to get anywhere close. It's not going to be able even to become dressed in his moyach, in his brain, that's his thought process and everything we spoke about, his sponiness, and also Uvapeh, that's his dibo, or B'sharimach Evorim, that's of course his actions and what he does. Lahachtiom, in order to make him do an aver, it's not going to be able to do that. Uletamom chas v'shalom. Rak shloisha levushe nefesh elekis hem levadom mislabshim bakuf. The only thing that becomes dressed in his body are the three levushe nefesh elekis that rules him. Shehem machshava dibu umaisa shel tariag mitzvah satorah. So it basically means, an interesting, just to be clear, externally, and this is very important to understand, externally, the level of garments of a Beinoni is exactly the same thing as a tzaddik. Externally. Okay, I don't mean externally in physical appearances. I'm talking about in the levushim that are around in the guf, in the body, that make him do the things that he does. Those are the levushim. We spoke about that many times. Ready for this, what I say? Here we are thinking a Beinoni is who knows what. Look at the Heilige Tanya. You heard it over here. Perik Yud Beis. V'lo ova avera miyomov. He never did an avera in his life. V'lo yava olam. And he will never do an avera in his life. V'lo nikra lov shem rosha. But he's not called a rosha fidusha achas. Not for a moment that he's living in this world. V'rega echol kol yomov. His entire lifetime, he's not going to be considered to be a rosha. So it means that a Beinoni is someone that is machshava, dibur, and maisa is completely l'shem shamayim. Everything he does is avodas Hashem, right? He's got no shaykhs be'etzem to averas. Even b'machshava, he doesn't even have a minute to do these things over here. So be'etzem, he's a tzaddik. That's really what we're saying, right? Now we're going to explain in a minute what the difference is, because when you read this, you're like, so what's the difference in a Beinoni and a tzaddik? He never did an Aveira, never will do an Aveira, but pretty much doesn't have a Havamina to do an Aveira. No one's driving his guf in a Nefesh Bahamas, so why is he different to a tzaddik, which of course we're going to get to in that case. But before we get that, we have to understand the following. If you remember Perek Gimel to Perek Ches, the Tanya speaks specifically about how the neshama works on two levels. Okay, you've got the inner layer and you've got the outer layer, right? This is why, by the way, we had all the prokim in between, from Perek Aleph all the way to Perek Yud Beis, where we didn't really discuss all the different madrigas of Tzaddik, Rosh, and Beinoni until now, because you have to understand how the neshama works, how the body works, what's driving it. So we explain the neshama works on two levels, the inner layer and the outer level. layer. The outer layer is what we call the garments, right? We spoke about that. For the Beinoni and the Tzaddik, the levushim are the same. It's basically the same thing. The garments basically are always controlled by the nefesh elikis. That's what's ruling his garments of his soul. It's the inner layer that the Tanya is about to explain that makes the nafkamina between a Beinoni and the Tzaddik. That's how we're going to understand it. So that's the Hagdoma before we move on. Mahus va'atzmus nefesh elikis shehin esse b'chinoiseha. Now we're saying the metzias, the deep level of the nefesh elikis, which are of course the 10 bechinois. 10 bechinos means that the Gimel Moichim, which of course Chochma, Bina, Vadas, and the 7 Midas, which are Chesed all the way until Malchus, all of them of the Nefesh Elikis, Loi Lohen Levadon Hamlucha V'Hamemshala Be'er Ketana. In the Beinoni, these are not only the forces that are driving this Iktana, which means by a tzaddik there's no fight. Bichlal, there's no fight. His animal soul is completely silenced. When it comes to a Beinoni, there's something there still. There's a little voice over there. There's something there. It never manages to chap him, but it's there. That's the difference. Ki'im, but only be'itim muzumonim. There are only a small amount of times that his nefesh and a kiss are ruling completely. And this is, by the way, a little bit of how the Baal HaTanya is going to explain to us how we can become this Beinoni. Okay, so again, there's a lot later on. We'll get to in different prokim. But I'll compare him. This is Sefer Shabbeinanim. He's trying to explain how a regular Yid is going to live. And if that's what you're explaining a Beinoni to be, well, then this is not Negea to be close to Sefer. I have nothing to do with this. Chas v'shalom. No one should ever say that because this is Negea and relevant to every single person. As we say, every perik in Tanya is Negea to every single person on a very practical level. He's going to tell us how in certain times during our day we can actually become this Beinoni. And he's telling us that, again, on the outer level, on the levushim, on the soul clothing, the Beinoni and the Tzaddik are the same. It's the inner level that's the nafkamina. That the Tzaddik has got no ra, and the Beinoni still has a fight over there. So he's saying, Ki'im bi'itim, it's almost like, okay, we'll talk about it, but it's talking about, okay, we'll get there. Be'itim muzumanim, certain times. Kumai. Bishas krishma utfila. When a person says krishma utfila, she shas moichin the gadlus lamala. We'll get to that in a second. So it means like this, that there are certain times that a person has no havamina for anything else. For example, at Tzaddik on Yom Kippur, right, when it comes to, for example, us eating Yom Kippur. How many people have a havamina to eat on Yom Kippur? We would like to eat on Yom Kippur. But no one actually says, ooh, maybe a taka should eat. It's not negaya to us, right? Most from Yidden are not going to have a real taiva. Okay, they want to, they're hungry, they're starving, I get it. But not going to actually eat Yom Kippur. It does not fill within we have many taivas. So that's a tzaddik. A tzaddik doesn't have no havamina, no shaykhas. But benching, yeah, we sometimes miss benching. It can happen. We're running off to a flight, we're running off to an appointment. We miss benching. It can happen. We try not, and generally it doesn't. But it could happen. It's a havamina. It's in our circle of thought. So that's the difference between a tzaddik and a Beinoni. Okay? So there are certain times, Kiyim again, we have to get this very, very clear, because this, of course, is the crunch of the Sefer. Let's explain for a moment these two terms. In Sifrei Kabbalah, and especially in the Tanya and others firm, they bring this, moichin de gadlus, moichin de katnus. What is it all about? So I'm going to explain it on a very surface and very simple level. Okay? Moichin de gadlus means when the mind is completely open. Gadlus, lashon godel. It's all open, it's flowing, it's unrestricted. Everything's available, okay? It's fully open. Moichin de katnus is talking about when it's constricted. Everything's not fully available in that case. It's like, for example, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. If a person taps into the avodah of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, he's fully involved. And his mind is open to the Beinoni Shalom is the Melech. And in Kippur he's open to the fact that he shouldn't do any Averas, and everything's open to him. That's Moichin de Gadlus. On Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, most of us are holding on that Madrega, right? Even on a small level. Mashenka, the rest of the year, we also know that the Beinoni Shalom is the Melech Malchem Lochem. We also know that we shouldn't do Averas. It's restricted, we're busy, we're busy with other things. That's Moichin de Katnus. So that's the nafkamina. So he's saying, in these times, shishas moichin de gadlus lemala. That means there's a very open expansion of the upper mind. V'gam lemata, down over here, shishas hakosha lechol adam. right? In other words, that a person can completely overpower the moichin, that's the chochmah bina v'das, and the midas, all the way, as we said before, chesed, all the way to malchus. He has complete shlita over it, right? He can completely overpower the nefesh habahamis. At that time, at that specific situation, he has complete control over the nefesh habahamis. His nefesh elikis is running the ship during those moments of krishma and tefillah. Sha'oz, at that moment, mikasha chachma bina v'das shaloi la'Hashem. Lahamik daitoi, begdulas ein soift, godless of the Beinoni Shalom Baruch Hu, le'oires ha'avah, he always says, when you do that, then you get to arouse the great love, k'rish be'esh, like the flaming fire, which is of course what we've spoken about. Nefesh elikis manifests itself mainly on the right hand side of the heart. The dovka to cling to the Beinoni Shalom became a tobit to say mi'ava. Davka has to be bi'ava. Is this man krishma? Is the shasa kosher that a person could do that? Now when a person says krishma, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, he's thinking about echad. How the Beinoni Shalom is only one, and I'm willing to be Moisei Nefesh, like the Shoresh Avodah tells us. It's that moment a person can have complete shlita, even a regular normal yid, over everything that's in the nefesh habahamis. Shezeu inyan amova b'krishma daraisa. Of course, we've got the mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, which of course are the brachas, which are a chona to get to the climax, which is krishma, which is brought. We'll say all the way. By the way, if you can have patience to wait till Perik Mem Tes, that's where the Tanya discusses a lot of these inyanim over here. And then hora shebecholol hasmoli. The bad, which is very well existent in the Beinoni, that's in the left side of the heart, is kofov at that moment, or bottle latoiv hamispashat b'chol yemini. It's now bottle. It's nullified to what's going on in the right hand side. In that case, that means during the tefillah, a person, a Beinoni, has the ability to feel he's an absolute tzaddik. Not just his feeling that way. That's what's going on. He's got moichin the gadlus. His consciousness is completely expanded. It's open. It's flowing. It's free. If a person has the right kavanas and does everything in the right way, that's what the Tanya is telling us. Avol. Here's the problem. Achar hatfila beistalkos hamoichin the gadlus ein sof baruch hu. After that goes away, harihara choiza, the bad within him, choiza v'neah, gets woken up and goes back to its regular position. B'chol hasmoni on the left side. And all of a sudden is busy with that case over there. So, which is why we have to continue this, because there's a lot to discuss. But just that's the akdoma to this idea of your base is how a person has the ability, every person, a Beinoni, that is being run by both ends. At the end of the day, everyone can tap into those few minutes when he can mamish be at Tzaddik Gomer, when he can be somewhere where he's completely overpowering everything else that's going on in his body. And in Mitzvah Hashem, Be'ez Hashem, next week, we shall try to continue and try to finish Perek Beis B'Siyat D'Shmaya.